to drug discovery. So first, let me give you an outline. I would like to start with a short introduction. I would like to show you my part, but afterwards I would like to focus on the very characteristics of academic and industry research. And my goal would be to give you a head comparison of these two career paths, and also give you some practical advice in the how exactly you can consider one or the other. Okay. Okay, good. So first, let me introduce myself a little bit more details. Of course, you know me, but actually, I started at the Technical University, Budapest, and then moved to Keserű, and afterwards coming back and moved to the pharma industry. I spent 20 years there. I started to work in Sanofi Analytics, and then I moved to György. And just about 13 years ago, I changed my mind and changed my career and left the industry and coming back to academia. So now I'm working for the Research Institute for Natural Sciences, Research Center for Natural Sciences, and I'm responsible for the Drug Innovation Center. This is the as the name said, is very close to drug discovery. So I'm actually a full professor of medicinal chemistry at the Technical University of Budapest. I also an affiliate professor in biomedical engineering at Boston University in the States. And what is more related to the topic of this course is that I have a drug discovery track record pushing 10 compounds, mostly in the CNS fields, into first-in-man studies. And one of the compounds out of this 10 is actually Varlar, reach the US and EU market and reduce $3.5 billion last year. Probably you don't know that I'm a certified movement guys, and this is important because this is my hobby. And just because I would like to give you a personal perspective, I would like to emphasize that hobby. This is very important for the satisfaction in your life. Actually, I have a MedChem group. We are all together 30, 35, something like that. And typically executing chemical biology and drug discovery programs. So this is the exact station of my journey. Just let's focus from this point, starting from a lab head at Sanofi, and then moving the head of computer-aided drug discovery, György, then head of lead discovery, then head of discovery chemistry, and then the general director of the research center. And then the biggest advance in my career is being a principal investigator, and a group leader, and that is, I think, the most important part of my career. So let me just shortly summarize you a typical PhD professional path as it happens in the EU, UK, and the US. So typically starting with the undergraduate courses in chemistry and biology, and then there are more options. You can start working, and then the MSc degree or the other option just directly from BSc to MSc. This is typically in the EU, or you can run this post-bachelor research studies and then arriving to the doctoral stage. Of course, you have this route as well from the MSc to doctoral studies. And actually, you are here, right? So the path from this point would be more interesting. So you have different postdoc opportunities. You can do postdoc in academia or even in the government. There are quite a few positions in the industry available for postdocs. Or you can continue education, or instead you can choose a direct path to academics, government, industry, or any other affiliation as a professional job. So let's move first to academia. So academia, this is a collective term. This is what it means is basically a scientific and cultural community. This includes universities, this includes research institutions, medical schools, medical centers. So this is a rather diverse set of people and a rather diverse set of organizations. What is common in the different organizations is, one hand, the job dedicated at least a part to education, teaching, and of course, research. So you know that who are the top of the academic hierarchy. These are the professors. And if you see, and I would like to show you that how exactly you can reach this level, but this is not an easy track. And if you focus on the different levels of professorships, then at the assistant professor level, that is basically called at the tenure track position in the States. This is the entry level professorship. Typically, you can achieve this after 1 or 2 postdocs, and the period of time you can spend typically 7 years or a little bit less. And if you can, typically, if you cannot move ahead to the associate professorship, then typically you leave. So the medium level position in the academia, this is the associate professor. This is a tenured position, and of course the responsibility is higher. And this is the last level, just reaching the full professorship at the senior position. So, what are the most important activities of academic scientists? That includes teaching, the scholarship, instruction, research, and service. So please do not forget the service, because the academic organization is a rather complicated organization. It means that you should contribute to different committees, and they are organizing many meetings. So that's why service is an important part of your career in staying in academia. Of course, at the different organizations, you might have different part of research and teaching, and the relative importance of research and teaching might vary as the institutions. But the services, as I mentioned, that is general, and you should consider that when considering staying in academia. So in the field of research, probably you have the best and the most detailed view right now, okay? Because most of you guys, you were involved more or less in at this part. Probably a few of you were involved also in teaching. I don't know whether or not you have this kind of experience, but I know Vincenzo has some teaching experience in my group. And I mentioned that it is also the part of the deal that you should do the services as well. So on this slide, I try to collect the pros and cons of the academic life. So let me start with the pros. So basically, a research group works like a small business. And the bad thing with this so small business is that it is your own business. That's why I mentioned that this is the highest point in my career being a group head, because, okay, I was responsible for more than 150 people, that's for discovery chemistry, but that was not my group. That was the company's department, okay, or a research unit or something like that. But I never ever found that this is my my own group, and of course, what we did, it was not only what I found out. Okay, so in this case, you know, running your own business, that's a kind of fun, and there is important consequences of this. First, you can manage your own time. This is one point. And the second point, that you can do what you want, so you can do research in your desired direction. So that's pretty much important. I always emphasize that working in academia, this is really a kind of entertainment, because just consider the situation that when you enter into your institute or the university group or something like that, you have a privilege to meet the top 1% intellectuals in your country. So that's an unbelievable option, right? So you can spend your time with extremely smart people. You can discuss and you can work with these people. So I think this is a kind of simulation. Of course, we like traveling conferences, exploring new places, exploring new research directions, and also meeting new people. And we can freely collaborate. We can establish collaborations, and these collaborations help us to go deeper into the area we are interested in. What is important, that the research is never a routine. You have always the opportunity to learn new techniques. There is always an opportunity to discover something new, never known before. And this is something like an expedition. I mentioned that I'm a certified mountain guide. So this is the connection between my research career and my hobby. That just exploring the world around us. So I think this is a very really huge motivation. And of course, that academic research have a prestige, have an impact. You might influence the community. Just let me remind you, even in the commercials during the COVID, it was stated that science wins. This is how governments try to explain to people that don't be afraid, because we can control the situation just because of science. And if you are staying in academia, then you could be the part of this type of science. On the other hand, this is a time-intensive activity, and just because you are basically alone, then you should balance many things. Of course, the typical problem associated with the academic life is funding. Okay, so especially in these days, when the U.S. There are really crazy stats against NIH advance, so we don't know how exactly US colleagues will solve that really heavy or a very serious situation they are facing with. But yes, also funding is always a question, and this is the source of the insecure feeling. You can feel yourself just dancing on the edge, right? Whether or not you can secure your research financially. So there are tendencies that are not very much promising. I mean, there is a artificial contradiction created between the basic science and applied science. You know, this is something like a crazy thing because there is only science. There is no basic applied. There are other categories as well, but there is only one science, and all people who are running the basic science needs applications in one hand, and on the other hand, and those people who are trying to develop applications, they need basic science. So, of course, you know, the government is trying to finance more the applied science because they are thinking about it. This is somewhat closer to the markets. Okay, this is somewhat closer to produce incomes. However, it is very clear that these two parts of science are very much interconnected. So the problem with being alone is this administrative stuff, and it might be problematic if you are in a huge academic organizations, because I mentioned already the service. The service sometimes does not mean that serving you, but just the opposite, that you are serving the administration, right? So that's the different situation. This point is very important. Research in academia, this is a highly competitive situation. If you don't like to compete with others, this is not the best job for you. So, and I will show you that in the industry that is more teamwork focused. If you like working with others, sharing the tasks and responsibility, probably this is the point you should consider before selecting academia as your career path. What is important? This is an international competition, okay? And some academics have a complete misunderstanding on that. And they are trying to compete with those people sitting at the same table or working in the same institute. This is useless because those guys are your collaborators. Those guys who are working in the same institution, those guys are no resource. Okay, you can collaborate with those people. They can help you. Of course, you can help them, right? Just making the whole institution, you know, higher, better, and more successful. So the competitiveness doesn't mean that you should compete with someone who is working with you. So probably later on this day, there might be an opportunity just to discuss a little bit that competitiveness and collaboration. These are not contradictory phenomena. Okay, so you can collaborate in one hand. On the other hand, this would help you in a competitive situation. Okay. Yes, the success criteria, depending in academia, depending in multiple things, right? So the personal preparation, your characteristics, your focus, your efforts, and also the assistance and support for others, the mentorship, and the characteristics of the local environment. So this is a complicated situation. It's very complicated to tell you that how exactly you will be successful. If you have competences, I try to summarize here. That's a very good starting point. However, there are no clear success criteria that how exactly you can reach this position and next position and so on. And I give you just one important point. Probably you are already familiar with this. Do not forget the organizational politics. That is the very old of the academic institution. And everywhere in the world, right? And of course, the organizational politics, it has a major influence on the success criteria as well. Okay. So I try to collect that, despite of this confused situation, I try to collect the most important criteria I experienced. So first, I think this is the most important one, your personal commitment. This is the most important one. So you should be socialized to career and activities, and you should realize that the academic freedom and the freedom of research, this is the environment that gives you the opportunity to fulfill your mission. Okay. You should have a focused research area. This is the second point, and it is very important to implement some kind of work habits. So, especially in the very beginning of your academic career, you should be highly productive. So I try to give you a few advice. Of course, these are approximate things that, but it is suggested to write at least 2 papers per year and having at least 1 grant in the last 2 years, and of course, reading all the time, reading the literature, and following your very much focused research area. What is important that you should run simultaneous projects. So never ever rely only on one single project. Because research projects, you know, that's very much uncertain, and uncertainty, this is the very nature of scientific research. So there are different stages of the project, and that's why you have the so-called project portfolio. There are projects in the very early stage. You are only thinking about that. There are projects that are already have some funding and you started to work on that particular project. There are other projects, now you are measuring or calculating something and just in the phase of the data collection. And again, other projects phase at the end phase when you are trying to analyze and trying to understand and interpret the data and producing the manuscripts, that there are also different stages. So these are basically 7 stages of a research from the basic ideas to the publication. Okay, it doesn't mean that you should run 7 projects in parallel, but it gives you some idea that how exactly you can schedule your projects relative to each other, having a project portfolio. Okay, it is very much important that you should have a focus on internal and external businesses. Internal businesses just because of the organizational politics, and those are the services you should do. And external is how you can introduce yourself to the international community. And success criteria continues here. It is always good if you have mentors. Even I have mentors from academia, and I use mentors even at early stage in the industry. Mentorship, this is not a scientific job. It is a truly human activity. The basis is always science, but in the mentorship, we are trying to solve problems with using all the past experiences and all the knowledge we accumulated during our life, and trying to share our view. This is never ever an order. This is the advice. The final decision is always in your hand. If someone works well as a mentor, then this is something like a science coach. Okay, at least this is my view on a mentorship. And the mentors can help you building your networks, establishing your collaborations, understanding the academic culture, and as mentioned, please don't forget, this is very much important, especially in the competitive area of academic research, is emotional support. Communication with others and building networks in academia, this is of primary importance. I know that it is a very challenging task for an introvert person. This doesn't mean that if someone has an introvert personality, that you should give up academic research. But this is complicated. For the extrovert person, it is always easier to find and to establish new relationships. And relationships and networks, these are very important in the academic arena. So how you can facilitate this? You should go to conferences, you try to develop networks. Of course, you guys, you have a big advantage because you did your PhD in an international environment and you have already a network, and this is your seed. Okay, you can in your career, you can rely on those people involved in this ALLODD consortium. And I think, though, that we can say that please do not consider only the other students. You can consider us as the PIs, right? So, of course, for example, forgive me, Sonia, just picking you. But for example, Sonia spent some time in Mali, okay? But she worked next era Hectorus, of course. But even the few months and also the regular teleconferences establish a relationship that you can count on. Okay. So this is just an example of why it is important. Now let's turn to the most critical part, that you need sufficient time and to work. And it is not easy because there are two types of pressures. One is teaching, the other one is service. Okay? And just because you are young and you are at the entry level of the organization, it is very hard to refuse these two, right? But you should balance somehow, because otherwise that would be a real challenge, that when exactly you can run your research if you are teaching all the time and all the free time spent on service. Okay? Success criteria, it is important, the supportive environment. It depends on the organizational culture of the institution. So, if you are trying to select your next academic affiliation, it is good to look around a little bit and to contact a few people who are already involved in that particular organization and asking about the autonomy and the support the organizations and especially the senior colleagues can give you. And yes, we can go to the other part because this might be more interesting for you. And this is a very interesting figure coming from the Royal Society UK. Just showing you that this is the MSc phase here. And basically, 50% having an MSc, a science MSc, go out from science. The other part starts the further education and or entering into the early career research stage. But during this period of time, about 70% leave academia and go to other non-university, non-academic jobs, including research or administration, industry, government, and so on. So, if you now consider the second phase being a permanent research staff, a rather large part of these people, altogether 36% of the MSc started there, leave science. And only 3.5% continues to the next level. So this is not very much promising if you if you see your academic career. So you start from here, your goal will be somewhere here, and you have 0.45% reaching full professorship. From this figure, please understand the most important message, that academic life is competitive. Because we are competing all the time to reach this position, and this is not the aim. This is only a status. The aim is always doing research and being motivated, just doing our own job, as described in the first part of my presentation. So you can consider leaving science as a tragedy, right? Oh, right? But this is not a tragedy at all. There are many, many opportunities outside the traditional science. You can work for the charity, the third sector, non-profit organization. You can do management consultancy. You can work in general manufacturing. You can do life sciences, pharmaceuticals, industry, biotechnology, different types of educations. You can be if you are motivated to do that. There are also a few positions in public administration that includes also making research policies, for example, publishing media. So there are plenty of opportunities. So this is not a tragedy just leaving the science, if you think that there might be something more interesting for you. Now I would like to focus to the industry research, and first I would like to give you the definition of what industry research is. This is a planned and critical investigation, and by acquiring new knowledge and skills, the most important goal of the research is developing new products, new processes, or new services. And these product processes and services should demonstrate significant improvement over the existing ones. Now let's consider that within a year you will have a PhD. Okay? And the question is that if you have a PhD, want to do industry research, you can do active research, you can solve specific problems, you can develop standards, find alternatives to existing processes, or you can coordinate research teams, coordinate processes between the different research departments within the organization, or you can work with other supporting functions relative to research like procurement, production, and sales. You can manage a team of researchers, you can manage projects as well, and you can present your research on internal and external international conferences. So what are the characteristics of industry research? There's always focus and primary importance of making impact. Funding is always available, but the vision is well defined. You have a clear roadmap to the product you should create, and the potential applications should always be considered in a real-world setting. What is important? This is a meritocratic work environment. So this is different from academia, a very high hierarchical environment. So what does it mean? In industry, we are working in teams. If the team loses, I cannot win. Okay, so the success is based on the quality of every and each team, work of every and each team member. Another other external factors, organizational politics, of course, is always present in the industry settings as well, but much less compared to academia. So also meritocratic working environment means that if you have the skills and if you have the expertise, then you have the opportunity to reach your full potential. Another important point that progress is always measured. And this measurement is based on your performance. And your performance is a key when deciding on your promotion, salary, bonuses, extra opportunities. So, of course, we can speak about money, but working for the industry it is not only a money question. Okay, it is a misunderstanding that industry pays well and academia will be always a poor guy. No, if you have ERC fellowship, you have 2 million euros in your hand. Do you consider as a poor guy yourself with having 2 million euros? I don't think so. If you have within the top, let's say 1%, 0.5%, then you might have as much money or even more as working for the industry, right? Just in a very competitive environment. In here, if your performance is okay, if your contribution to the team is okay, then you would have a realistic compensation. So what about the work-life balance? So this is interesting because typically in big pharma, this is 9 to 5 job, okay? But for startups and SMEs, that is an unbelievable hard working environment. And I wrote here that around the clock is difficult there. Please do not forget that work around the clock is also not rare in academic settings because of the high competition. Okay? So, especially if you are staying at a very entry level industry research, then your flexibility is very much limited. So this is a big difference relative to academia. You have a commercial focus, and the timelines and also the objectives. These are the outcome is all. These are the primary objectives. So there are deadlines. You should meet that. You should deliver the goals according to the project schedule. This is important. And here comes the teamwork. So I like very much working in teams. And therefore, my my 20 years in the industry was really a kind of fun, working people within a single team. As mentioned that we put this 10 compounds into the clinic. I myself were typically unable to do even one single compound developing from the idea to the clinic. So we did it in small, medium, and large teams to reaching the company's goal. But in the one hand, and on the other hand, and this is important, this was also our personal goals as well. So teamwork, this is very much important. And there are many opportunities within the company, especially in the big pharma. There are many career advancement opportunities and also opportunities to learn new things and growth for those people who are performing. So this is very important. Again, the performance that is always measured and that everything is based on your performance. Okay. So what are the success criteria? Motivation for innovation. You should have a flexible outlook and mindset. You should be a team player. Transparency and collaboration it is very important in an industry team. You can imagine that how exactly a team can work without collaborative efforts. And what is important is the direct communication. This is very important in industry settings. So very often in industry, we are using very direct communication that is not the language of science. In one hand, this might be rude, but on the other hand, I think it is helpful and basically it minimizes the potential of misunderstanding. Always, messages are always clear and communicated both verbally and in writing. And there is no problem saying yes or no. Sometimes without any further explanation. So there is a digital transformation actually running typically in industry settings. Just let's think about the lab automation, the ELNs, the AI-based applications, something like that. These things are more advanced in industry as compared to academia.
What is the ELN?
ELN, this is electronic lab notebook.
Oh.
Okay. And what is important that you need some significant stress tolerance. Stress is coming from multiple sources. That might be coming from job security, but also coming from the very nature of the pharma industry. It's a very, very regulated area and a high responsibility environment. Even being a team member, you are responsible for a particular activity. And your responsibility is always monitored in the team meetings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is important.
Yeah, because you mentioned it as a 9 to 5 job where you're in a team and everybody is having a common goal and work together. So it didn't sound very stressful, to be honest.
Oh, so basically, this typically in big pharma,
Mhm.
right? But now big pharma is changing.
Okay.
Uh,
Tell us a bit more.
Yes, yes. So, look, stress is coming from, not from these conditions, but the changing environment. Because on the top of the team, there is, the management sitting there, okay? And, for example, one of the significant stress sources is, management decisions. Okay, just closing projects, just because of lack of commercial interest, but you have no influence on the conversion of the commercial interest. You are trying to do your job as good as you can, and the project is closed because of the lack of commercial interest or something like that. So there are management decisions that are communicated very directly, and that makes stress, for example, and also the regular reorganization of the company. That is also a very stressful stuff. But if no reorganization and you are in the project that goes well, then no problem. That is not a stressful environment, but during my 20-year long industry career, I can identify, let's say, few years only working in these conditions. Because the management people, they are always trying to invent something, making the whole organization more efficacious, but right?
I'm laughing because,
Yeah.
And
So-
what about monitoring? You said monitoring. How is this stressful? What?
Okay, monitoring, yeah, okay. So, I'll explain that everything is focused on the performance, and the performance is important because the timelines and the project goals, these are the objectives that are directly connected to the performance of the team and your personal performance. So typically, in every 3 months or at least half a year, there is a project monitoring meeting. Then you summarize the activity you did, the given period of time to the management. And at the end of the meeting, the management decides whether or not the project can continue. This is a stressful situation. Because I said that these are friendly speaking guys, and they are saying yes or no.
Yeah.
Okay. So regularly there are monitoring meetings. You should demonstrate the activity of the team and your personal performance as well. And once a year there is a so-called portfolio meeting when the management reviews all of the projects running within the research organization of the company. And then they decide to formulate the research portfolio of the company. So what I would like to say is that pharma industry is changing, and pharma industry is no longer equal to big pharma. Those days that the big boys try to collect everything in-house, this is over. That means that at the 90s they defined themselves as life science companies. They are not life science companies at all. Now they are defining themselves like the drug makers. Okay? And so basically, they are trying to reinvent themselves as more biotech-like. So what does it mean? They try to reuse there are multiple level organizations, very complicated organograms, trying to simplify the processes. This is called biotech-like operations. But the problem is that the biotech today is not identical as the biotech was in the 20th century. So basically, many biotechs are not a part of the big pharma. They are not fully integrated. That means that they are very much specified. Also, it is important that they are today the typical source of new therapies and early discoveries, and the big guys, picking up them, acquisitions or something like that, or mergers if they are larger. And basically, most of the present biotechs has something like a compound or a service or a technology they won't sell. So if you consider working in the industry, this doesn't mean that you are working for a big pharma from 9 to 5 in teamwork without any stress. Okay? But you can work for different company types, and also there are growing opportunities to get your job in the industry. So this means that, so I would like to point at these two stuff. So one, what is important that CROs are getting larger and larger. And even in Europe, we have some very significant CRO companies. And they are doing really high quality science. So this is, previously it was, like a service. Okay, this is, now it is much more. Okay, just please consider that the CRO company would be also a very good job for a person who are interested in research. Okay, and also the other point, what is important, especially from European perspective, that after the COVID, it was more than trivial that this strategy, that moving everything into Asia, this is not a good strategy at all. So if you consider the huge problems occurred in the supply chain, even in the pharmaceutical sector, then there is a clear motivation in the EU just re-establishing the European pharmaceutical manufacturing and research. And just 1 month ago, the person responsible for health in the European Commission, this is a Hungarian guy, just introduced the new legislation for EU sponsoring companies producing life-saving medicines in Europe, in European sites, just serving the needs of European people, because we should not depend as much as we are depending now on outside suppliers.
If I may jump in, so at Nexera, we have made the strategic switch of our resources to invest in CRO in Europe.
Yes.
Precisely from that, to risk balance. That means, I guess good news for everybody, right? For job opportunities, and we can maintain really the brains within Europe as well, which is absolutely.
Yes, so this is, thank you, Ajahn, because this is important. This type of movement are creating new jobs. This is important. This is why I'm saying about that there are increasing opportunities in the industry, just because of this type of movement. So now the head-to-head comparison, in academia, you have more flexibility, more freedom. Industry research is sometimes constrained, or definitely more constrained, it's sometimes monotone, sometimes looks like a routine. You have intellectual autonomy in the academia. In the industry side, your autonomy is significantly limited because the focus is create a particular product service that is the specialty of the company. In academia, you are running for a longer term result. In industry, you have very definite objectives, definite timelines, and definite goals. Typically, industry pays more, but I mentioned that if you are in the top 0.5 in academia, that would never ever be financial problems. Of course, in industry, you have no funding problems. In academia, you are running your own small company, so you should struggle for funding. If you consider the quality of different things at industry and academia, then let's consider this blue. Blue means that that particular thing is better in industry. If orange, then it means it's better than in academia. So medicinal chemistry, for example, is much better in a company environment. Chemistry, in general, is better in academia, but medicinal chemistry, as defined, it is much better there. For example, developing new assays and screening processes, it is much better in industry settings. In one hand, there are no financial limits. If you can prove that it is needed for meeting the goals, then you can do that. Look at that, the organizational commitment and stability, this is about 50-50. So even if you consider academia is sometimes less secure, but there are insecure things in industry setting as well. But if you see disease expertise, values society, innovation, this is where academia is much stronger. But things are not so simple. Academia provides you the flexibility and autonomy, but you can be workaholics very autonomously. Okay. Academia gives you more freedom in one hand, but frankly speaking, these are the full professors who have this full freedom. And all the other guys in the lower hierarchy, they are suffering between research, teaching, and service. Okay? I said that industry pays more. Yes, that's true. But you can earn as much money in academia with collaborations with industry, consultancy, extra grants, if you are able to those things. You can make contract with industry players. So this is all. So not only funding is the only source of money at academia. Academia provides you more opportunity for teaching and also collecting scientific credits in one hand. But on the other hand, don't forget that basically every and each industry organization now allows to train PhDs passed on in industry settings. And for example, I have about 18 graduated PhD students. 6 out of these 18 was completing the PhD during my industry career. So, of course, I love teaching and I love dealing with the PhD students, but it was possible even in industry settings. So, and this is my last point. Yes, this is my last point, that both industry and academia provide the opportunity making impact. The only difference is the time scale. Because time scales are much, much shorter in the industry. And if you consider that drug discovery, this is a very, very long process, let's say up to 10 years or even more, it is very hard to maintain the motivation, okay, during this whole process. But the industry found out a special system, this type of monitoring system, you know, just monitoring the development in the project, monitoring the performance, and so on, and setting intermediate goals to maintain this kind of motivation. In academia, this is a longer term career for the long-term results. You are running for long-term results. It is also important to keep your motivation during that process. And it is not easy because in academia there are no such intermediate goals and other support if you have no good mentors, if you have no good colleagues, if you have no good collaborators. So at this point, I should stop, but I will distribute my slides because there are a few practical things I would like to show you that how you can apply for a position in academia or industry, and what is the difference in the CV and the interview, benefits and compensation, and work-life balance. Okay? And probably Xavi and also Mark and Ijan probably can speak about this kind of transition from academia to industry, what we did, and a fewer person did from industry to academia. So now we have the coffee break, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions or comments that you had during the coffee break, and thanks for your attention.
It was a good little break, but one interesting question that I saw in the questions from the students was, what made you go back to academia after being in industry?
Yes, so we had a short conversation with Mark, and I'm pretty sure that he tells it, but I can tell you. So basically, that was my 14th year at the company, and at that particular year, we find all the documentation of RILA to US FDA, and we are waiting for the approval. And company management said that Okay, guys, congratulations. This was a great job. Let's do it again. And, you know, so I was thinking about that. What? Just another 14 years? I did already. Okay, I know every and each step. And but when the management said, okay, let's do it again, then my conclusion was sorry for that. It was more than enough for me, and my conclusion was that, okay, probably it would be a very not identical but a very similar path. And I decided that I really do not want to go to the same path again, but instead I would like to share my experience with others. And that was my motivation. In one hand, leave the industry, just, you know, escaping from the routine, okay? And the other, as the motivation to go to the to academia, just sharing the experience, sharing the knowledge. Look, you guys, you know, if you have background in chemistry, you guys, you know this push-pull mechanism, right? Do you know what is that? Chemistry. Okay. So basically, my push was the routine, okay, and my pull was sharing the experience, sharing the knowledge, okay. So I think this push-pull mechanism, if this is the general rule in a human life, when we are changing something in our life, then this is the push-pull mechanism, right? Because push is not enough. It's not enough for changing, because if you don't know that what will be the next step, you stay there, even if it is not the best, and waiting a little bit for new opportunities. And the opportunity, this will be the school.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.